composition. Aside from the objects that are there, it's going to be that cast shadow, and that gives you that emotion. That shape pattern is really important. And it will also make shapes in the negative space as well. And sometimes it's just a delightful accident that happens with those shapes that are in the negative to enhance your piece. At that point, you want to take that whole shadow that you've outlined and mapped out, and you want to keep that pattern together. And in doing that, I use a lined form of my pastel so that the lines are very close together, but not closed. And they're very close together and in a very uniform pattern. And you do not have to go from the beginning of that shadow to the end with one stroke. You can do it as much as your hand feels comfortable, then you do it again as much as your hand feels comfortable. If you are uniform in your strokes, and you develop this, if you're uniform, and I don't care whether you go up and down, I don't care whether you go back and forth, I don't care whether it's horizontal, but get that all in there so that it looks all together. There's no dark outline of the shape just filled in. It looks like one whole shape of value. That enables you to have a very distinct pattern of dark, and it also allows you to go back into that pattern with other colors of dark. At that point, you could go one more darker. If it was an older person or a very dark featured person and you wanted to take that one more time darker, you could go to 223, which is another dark, and it's warmer. It'll take you one more step darker, but I usually don't need to do that. Usually I take it from the 293 and I go right to my three darks that are in the new pastels. And that's the 298, bottle green it's called, 305, spruce blue, white, and then the third one is 353, and that's cordovan. In reality, I think cordovan is more like a Mars violet. I think this spruce blue is more like Prussian blue. And I think that the green is more like, it's closest to a sap that you can get to and have it be dark enough. Because in oil, sap green and alizarin would be my equivalents. Sap green, alizarin, and Prussian blue would be my equivalents to those three colors in pastel. And when you merge the alizarin and the sap green together, and you add a little bit of cadmium yellow, that will make such an array of transparent darks, ranging from a dark greenish brown to the richest, beautiful, warm, dark red that you can get, or even a dark reddish that you want to put in that's brown. So you have such an array of colors that you can mix from them in a oil painting that are similar to these three pieces.
3 minutes.
Okay, so you then take those darks, you start with either the green or the red, the dark red, which looks very cordovan color, and you begin going over your drawing again. And this time you're going into the darkest darks, and you're bringing in the values of your colors so that they work together. And now, all of a sudden, what you thought was very dark in your browns becomes much darker when you work with your darks. But when you work with the red and the green in conjunction with each other, they cancel each other out and they make a nice rich brownish look, and they don't look obviously green or obviously red. When you really need to go darker, you include that blue with it, and that will darken that even more. When you decide to change your strokes within a massive shadow, you might change the direction of it ever so, not like this, more like that. Just change the direction of it consciously. You are now changing direction of your strokes a little bit more. Maybe there's a shadow within that dark that you can now bring in, and you shadow that in a different, slightly different direction. When you start your line like this, and you start making your line just a little bit, and then another little bit, you're turning that form. And at the same time, you're having colors go on like this, and you're keeping your color very, very strong.
Okay. Why don't you, if you just, this can be part 1.
Yes. Yeah,
and then once I download this,
yeah,
then we'll do part 2.
Okay, that's nice.
And I have a